Hello and thank you for tuning into the Brian Collins Art YouTube channel. Today I'm drawing a jellyfish and I am working on Strathmore mixed media paper because I'm actually going to be using mixed media today. So this paper is designed specifically for wet and dry media. I'm using Prismacolor Premier Soft Core pencils, which are absolutely my favorite pencils. I've been using these things for decades, and if you've ever worked with them, you'll understand why. Yes, they're very waxy. Some people don't like that because you can get wax bloom, but there is a way to polish that off and use a little bit of fixative to keep the shine of the pencil. The easiest way that I've found to buff out or shine your Prismacolor is just a little piece of tissue paper and just lightly rub everything and the wax bloom will go away. Wax bloom is basically where you start to lose the saturation of color and you see more of the wax on top of the color. But again, that buffs out very easily. Put a little fixative on it, or you can even use some varnish, and depending on the paper that you're using, and it'll look great again. So yeah, definitely recommend Prismacolor pencils. And hopefully you guys are enjoying this overhead shot that I have now. I've gotten some great feedback from you guys in the comments, and I always appreciate the comments. And in particular, it had been mentioned that it was a little hard to see the paper in some of the past videos where I was just using a tripod. So I created this sort of makeshift boom with some PVC pipe that was in my garage, drilled a hole in it, put a screw in it that had the same threading as my camera, and yeah, there's the the backside of my engineering expertise, I guess. So yeah, hopefully this is a better angle for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. So diving in, right now I am doing a texture technique, that's a little bit difficult to say, where I create a pattern that's almost like expanded metal. If you're familiar with that, basically it's like a sort of diamond-shaped holes in a piece of metal. And by doing so, I can go back in with lighter tones and shades of the same colors or complementing colors using color theory, color wheel, and it'll create a simulated texture. And this piece, I knew I was going to call it the skirted jellyfish because I wanted to create a jelly which was based more on fantasy than reality. Is just one of the things that I think about when I draw nautical stuff in particular, is how much undiscovered life there is in the ocean. I mean, every time we go deeper, we find more. So hopefully these things exist. Something like it might be able to. And I was thinking of like a mariachi dress and something with lots of colors and really pretty. So I came up with this skirted jelly. I don't know if you've ever been stung by a jellyfish, but I have a few times, and it is not a pleasant experience. It feels like you're being stuck with needles in a place that's already on fire. It's not a good thing to feel. And that's kind of the intrigue, I guess, to the jellyfish for me, is that they can be so beautiful and so graceful in the water, but man, the venomous ones are just such a mess. They will just tear you up. And we had a couple of infestations these past few summers here in St. Augustine, where the Portuguese man-o-war washed up onto our beaches. They were in the water, and nobody could go out without the risk of getting seriously injured. But I got to approach a couple of these that had washed up, and I got to really look at them just from like inches away, and they were so iridescent, blue, purple, pink. It really inspired me to create something like the one that I'm creating today. So I've worked my way up this jelly, again using color theory. So I've got some purple at the bottom, and then I put the yellow in the middle that contrasts the purple. And then at the top I have the red and green, which again opposites on color wheel. And the blue is in there. I felt like it made a good palette cleanser, I guess, no pun intended, just to sort of get your eye away from there being too much color theory. And I don't know, I think it made a pretty good balance. Let me know what you think and how you try to achieve color balance in your art, because I love hearing what you guys take from this and how you use it in your own work. And it's just great to know that we can all inspire each other in things like art. So I'm getting really close in the video to switching over to the watercolor. Now, I don't show a lot of it on the video, so I'll go ahead and start talking about it now and the reasoning behind it. So the colored pencil is usually what I use. It's controllable. I was a tattoo artist for a long time. I never went to art school really, so I just took a tattoo apprenticeship and learned to draw the way that you tattoo, long, clean lines. So I love having so much control over the medium. That being said, I like to challenge myself with less controllable media, such as acrylic and in particular watercolor. So watercolor, it has a mind of its own. You put it down and it's like, oh, I see a puddle over here, and then I'll just go that way. Or, oh, there's a stream or a splatter this way. Now I'm going to go over here. And when I first started watercoloring, it drove me nuts because I couldn't make it do what I wanted it to do. And then I once had the idea that life is this way, you know, some parts we can control, some parts we can't, so let's put that into art. So I use the controllable media to do my foreground or my subject matter, and then I use the less controllable media, which is the chaos around us, you know, and I like to be able to use that philosophical idea behind artwork itself. So when I do the watercolor on this piece, I'm going to be using just some black and blue to get various shades of gray. And I use a fairly wet brush. I don't use a lot of water still. Sometimes I'll just put a little water on the paper first just to prime it up for that, and then I'll put the watercolor in and see what it does. And so when I do the watercolor on this piece, I'm going to bring it right up to the colored pencil in some places and leave gaps in others. You'll see that in just a moment. And there's a couple things I want to say about that. One is you can paint watercolor right over top of your Prismacolor. The waxiness is not going to let the watercolor go into the colored pencil. You can wipe it right back off. So this is a great process if you want to try mixed media. But by leaving a little bit of a gap between the watercolor and the colored pencil, it makes the image pop off of the paper. So it is almost like a tattoo trick to get almost like a 3D sort of thing, where the colored pencil is really in your face and then the watercolor has like a little bit of a border. So hopefully I was able to achieve that here. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching this video. I'm going to try to lean more toward doing some instructional things, and hopefully you guys will stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and check out my shop at briancollins.etsy.com.